Is this the moment the army has been afraid of? What exactly made Taehyung say a sentence that even he himself seemed hesitant to say? And why does Jungkook's response sound more emotional than anyone could have imagined? No one was prepared for what happened that day. Although the clue turned out to be a long-time AGO'd, it all started with a closed-door rehearsal for BTS's yet-to-be-announced surprise project. There is no public, no official cameras, just the sound of music, the occasional silence, and the natural interaction between the members. But it is precisely in that atmosphere that the truth usually emerges, without the mask of work or the demands of the stage. The staff who happened to be on site admitted to feeling a subtle tension from the beginning of the exercise. Taehyung appears focused but agitated, while Jungkook appears to be trying to keep the atmosphere light, until that moment came, without warning. The music stopped, Taehyung lowered the mic, and looked at Jungkook with an expression that was hard to explain. Not angry, not sad, but as if letting go of something that had been buried for a long time. "I can't pretend anymore," he said so quietly but piercing. His voice trembled, as if it were a sentence that had fought hard to come out. A few seconds seemed like forever. Jungkook just kept silent, transfixed, as if he knew the sentence was not just an ordinary complaint. There was something that had been kept tight and finally broke. No one understood what Taehyung meant. Pretending about what? Feelings? Condition? Relationship? Career pressure? There was no further explanation from Taehyung, just a blank stare at the floor and an unsteady breath. But it was Jungkook's response that made the room freeze. He stepped closer, held Taehyung's arm, and said in a hoarse voice, "You don't have to pretend to be strong. Not in front of me." That sentence sounds soft, but it's full of hurt. It's almost like he knows exactly what Taehyung has been hiding all this time, and he's also tired of being his silent witness. Staff who were there claimed to see Jungkook's eyes glazed when he said it. Taehyung covered his face with his hands, as if he could no longer hide his emotions. There were no public cameras to capture the moment. There is no script. There is no dramatization. Only two people finally stopped withholding everything. After that moment, the exercise is stopped. There was no explanation from HYB, and neither Taehyung nor Jungkook have given any comment. But the army who heard this news could not remain silent. Many felt Taehyung's words indicated an inner fatigue that could no longer be covered up, and Jungkook's response proved that he had been aware of it for longer than anyone thought. Now the big question is no longer what happened then, but what was hidden all this time. Is it just about work pressure? About a broken relationship? About a deep but difficult to reveal attachment? Or something more personal and emotional than that? One thing is clear. Taehyung's sentence and Jungkook's response that day were not ordinary moments. It was not a scenario, not acting, not a fan service scene. It was raw honesty that finally broke after too long of detention. And from that second on, no one would see the two in the same way again. What hit the army was not just what happened, but the realization that they may have given a lot of support, but not enough to withstand the weight that both men had. And now the entire fandom can only wait for the continuation of the story that has just unfolded, with a deep sense of anxiety, curiosity, and hope that the two hearts will find peace. After that emotional moment, the news that initially only circulated among the staff in the training room began to spread slowly through internal whispers. No footage, no photos, just stories from people who witnessed the incident themselves. Precisely because everything sounds too personal, the army is finding it increasingly difficult to tell the difference. Is this just a rumor or a truth that does not dare to be officially announced? But one thing that made the fandom even more convinced was the change in Taehyung and Jungkook's attitude after the incident. A few days later, Taehyung appeared on a live broadcast. Not discussing the incident directly, but his eyes, there was something different. The smile is still the same, but not as hot as usual. He repeatedly took a deep breath, biting his lips as if holding back the words that wanted to come out. Army who noticed claimed to see him several times staring away, as if his mind was stuck somewhere else. Comments poured in. "Are you okay? We are here for you. If something is heavy, do not be alone." But Taehyung only said one thing that made everyone speechless again. Sometimes we just need to be honest with ourselves, even if it's scary. Not long after, Jungkook also performed live. And although he has always been known for being spontaneous and cheerful, this time his way of speaking was much slower. It was as if he chose every word very carefully. He didn't mention anyone by name, but this sentence immediately made the army associate him with the events of the exercise. In the end, we can't save everyone, but we can make sure someone doesn't feel alone. Fans who followed the two for a long time immediately felt a change in energy. The two did not appear to be fighting. Quite the opposite, as if there was an increasingly strong emotional bond, but also too fragile to touch. Taehyung is calmer, Jungkook is more protective. International fans translate every expression, gesture, upload, even pause while live as if everything is keeping a hidden message. But what stopped the fandom the most was Taehyung's post on the official platform a few days later. Not in a time too close like that. It was as if they were speaking, not to the public, but to each other in the most subtle and safest way possible. The media began to smell a change in mood. Article after article sprang up, speculation sprang up, and pressure began to mount. HYB remained silent, and that silence is precisely the gasoline for rumors. On the other hand, Taehyung and Jungkook are not at all trying to mask their connection in some activities. Not with the ostentatious intimacy that it once was, but with a small concern too sincere to ignore. Jungkook always makes sure Taehyung is within his reach. Taehyung never leaves Jungkook alone for more than a few seconds. They were not explaining anything, but it was precisely from the silence that everything was most clearly visible. Some fans who initially perceived the "I can't pretend anymore" moment as a tension between them began to realize something different. What was visible was not a crack, but a reconstruction. This isn't a story about a broken relationship. It's about two people who have refrained from looking strong until they finally accept that leaning on each other doesn't mean being weak. There was one moment that left the army speechless. During a public event, the camera captures Taehyung looking agitated for a moment, playing with his fingers, a habit he does when nervous or emotional. Jungkook saw it, thoughtlessly grabbed Taehyung's hand for a while behind the table, then took it off again as if it was just a coincidence. But Taehyung sighed with relief afterwards. No words, no conversation, just presence. And that's enough. And here is the most heartbreaking paradox of all. The more they are silent, the clearer everything becomes. No official statement can explain what is seen in their eyes, in small movements, in the way they look after each other without saying a single word. Now the army is no longer waiting for recognition, clarification, or a full story. All they are waiting for is one thing, that no matter what happens, the two will still walk together. Taehyung has stopped pretending to be strong by himself. Jungkook has proven that he is willing to be Taehyung's back whenever he gets tired. And if that painful honesty is the starting point for change, it may be the beginning of their most honest journey so far.